My phone lit up at 8:37 p.m. The message from my mother read, "We'll skip your housewarming. Your sister just moved too." No apology, no question about rescheduling, just another excuse centered around Amelia. I stared at those words for what felt like hours, 32 years of the same pattern, condensed into one perfect text. For 3 decades, I'd chased their approval. Every scholarship, every promotion, every milestone met with indifference before conversation shifted to my younger sister's latest drama. "That's okay," I typed back. 2 simple words that changed everything. What my parents didn't know, what they never bothered to ask, was that this wasn't some apartment gathering with cheese plates and cheap wine. This was the private reveal of my $6 million oceanfront villa on Monterey Bay. A property HGTV had been secretly filming me renovate for the past 6 months. I placed my phone face down on the Italian marble countertop I'd personally selected. Through floor-to-ceiling windows, waves crashed against cliffs below. My cliffs, my home, my success they couldn't diminish. The rejection stung, but something else rose in its place. Relief. The constant need for validation had exhausted me. Always being the responsible one, while Amelia remained the baby at 28. "Your sister needs more help," Mom would say. Strange how Amelia needed more help, yet somehow always ended up with everything I worked for. I walked to the terrace where the evening air carried salt and freedom. Tomorrow, cameras would capture the reactions of people who actually showed up for me, my mentor, my contractors. Friends who celebrated my victories without making them smaller. For the first time in my life, I felt something unfamiliar. Gratitude for being forgotten, because in their absence, I finally saw the truth. I wasn't seeking their approval anymore. I was done explaining myself. 1 week later, as HGTV cameras panned across my villa's infinity pool merging with the ocean horizon, my phone would light up again. But this time, with 37 missed calls from the same family that couldn't be bothered to attend. Have you ever been made to feel invisible by the people who should see you most clearly? If you've ever had to swallow that quiet pain while watching someone else get everything you worked for, hit subscribe. Because what I did next taught my family exactly what they lost, and I promise, revenge doesn't always need to be loud to be devastating. The pattern started early in our small Oregon town. Dad worked as a contractor. Mom ran her flower shop, and between them stretched the vast, unspoken agreement that Amelia needed more attention. At 8 years old, I won the state spelling bee. My photo appeared in our local paper, a serious little girl with glasses and tight braids. That evening, Mom placed the newspaper on the kitchen table, but flipped it face down when Amelia came home crying about not making the dance team. "Your sister's having a hard day," Mom whispered, as if my achievement might wound Amelia further. "Maybe don't mention the spelling thing tonight." That night became every night of my childhood. At 12, I received straight A's while taking advanced classes. "That's nice, honey," Dad said, barely glancing at my report card. An hour later, Amelia brought home a C in basic math, and they took her for ice cream to celebrate her improvement. I learned to study alone in my bedroom, to need less, to expect nothing. While Amelia's walls became cluttered with participation ribbons and framed photos, my accomplishments lived in a box under my bed. High school accelerated the divide. I graduated a year early with scholarships to 3 universities. The night of my graduation, my parents left halfway through the ceremony because Amelia felt sick. I accepted my diploma to empty seats where they should have been. "We're so sorry," Mom said later, not quite meeting my eyes. "You understand, right? You're always so independent." Independent, the word they used when they meant inconvenient. When Stanford accepted me with a full scholarship, Mom's first question wasn't about my achievement. It was, "Who's going to help Amelia with her college applications if you're gone?" I packed alone, drove alone, set up my dorm room alone. Meanwhile, my phone filled with updates about Amelia's senior year drama, the boyfriend troubles, the prom dress crisis, the anxiety about which college might accept her despite mediocre grades. Every holiday, I'd return home to find my childhood bedroom converted to storage, while Amelia's remained pristine. Christmas gifts followed the same pattern. Practical items for me, socks, planner, gas card, while Amelia received jewelry, electronics, clothes. I stopped expecting fairness. Instead, I channeled everything into becoming exceptional. If being ordinary meant being invisible, perhaps being extraordinary would finally make them see me. But even excellence has its limits when nobody's looking for it. Stanford's campus felt like stepping into another world. Red-tiled roofs against blue California sky, palm trees swaying, everything looked like freedom. For the first time, I wasn't Amelia's sister. I was just Celine. My scholarship covered tuition, but nothing else. While other freshmen explored San Francisco on weekends, I worked 3 campus jobs: library assistant Monday through Thursday, campus tour guide Fridays, waitressing weekends at a diner where Stanford parents took their kids for brunch. I lived on instant noodles and free department event food. Still, every month, I sent $200 home for emergencies. Those emergencies always seemed to involve Amelia's car repairs or her spring break trips with friends. My first Christmas break, I couldn't afford the flight home. When I called to explain, Mom sighed. "Well, Amelia will be so disappointed. She was counting on you helping with her college applications." I hung up and cried for the first time in years. The turning point came sophomore year when Professor Harlow stopped me after economics class. "Your analysis on housing market fluctuations was graduate-level work," she said. "Have you considered specializing in real estate economics?" That conversation changed everything. Professor Harlow became the mentor I'd never had. She invited me to dinner at her home, introduced me to industry connections, pushed me when I doubted myself. "Your mind sees patterns others miss," she told me. "That's rare and valuable." Senior year, I landed a prestigious internship with a luxury real estate firm in Palo Alto. When I called home with the news, Dad answered. "That's great, honey," he said. "Hey, can you hold? Amelia just got accepted to community college." I heard cheering in the background before the line clicked to hold. 5 minutes later, Mom picked up, breathless with excitement about Amelia's accomplishment. My internship never came up again. Graduation day arrived sunny and perfect. Professor Harlow hugged me tight after the ceremony. "I'm so proud of you," she said. My parents had promised to come, but called the night before with familiar news. Amelia had broken up with her boyfriend again and needed them. I posed for photos alone in my cap and gown, smiling despite the empty chairs I'd reserved. That night, I made a decision. I would build something so undeniable they'd have to see me. I just didn't know how high I would have to climb. My first apartment in San Francisco was a converted closet with a mattress on the floor, but I had business cards that read Celine Marston, Real Estate Associate. My Stanford economics degree opened doors, but my work ethic knocked them down. While other new agents chased quick commissions on small properties, I studied architectural history, learned about foundation types, ceiling joists, and load-bearing walls. I could walk into a house and see not just what it was, but what it could become. "You have the eye," my first mentor said. "Most agents sell what's there. You sell the vision." I worked 18-hour days, skipped holidays, missed friends' weddings. Real estate consumed me because success meant visibility, and I'd been invisible too long. At 27, I landed my first major client, a tech executive looking for a $3.8 million property in Malibu. When we closed, my commission was larger than my parents' combined annual income. That night, handshaking, I called home. Mom, I just closed my first big deal, almost $4 million. Oh, that's nice, dear, she replied, her voice distracted. Did you hear Amelia might get that manager position at the coffee shop? We're taking her shopping for interview outfits tomorrow. The familiar ache returned, but now it came with something new. Clarity. No amount of success would ever be enough to make them see me. So I stopped trying to be seen by them and focused on being seen by everyone else. By 30, I had my own agency specializing in architectural restoration of luxury properties. My name appeared in design magazines. Wealthy clients trusted me with their 8-figure homes. My portfolio grew from Malibu to Monterey Bay, properties with history and character that needed someone who understood their value. On paper, I had everything. The corner office with ocean views, the designer wardrobe, the respect of industry veterans twice my age, but my success felt hollow when I returned to an empty apartment each night. I'd built a name that impressed strangers while remaining a footnote in my own family's story. Then came the property that would change everything. A forgotten 1970s oceanfront villa in Monterey, abandoned for years, its potential visible only to someone who knew what it meant to be overlooked. The moment I saw it, crumbling and neglected on its cliff, I recognized myself. 1 year before the villa, I thought I'd finally found the perfect way to impress my parents. I'd just closed on a stunning Malibu beach house renovation, a $4.2 million property that had been featured in California Home and Design. The transformation was remarkable. A forgotten 1960s beach shack turned into a modern masterpiece. This was my chance. I arranged everything perfectly. First-class flights for my parents, a luxury hotel suite, a private chef for the open house. I even created a special booklet documenting the before and after, with my name prominently featured on the cover. This time, they couldn't look away. 2 days before the event, I was reviewing final details with the caterer when my phone buzzed. Mom's text read, "We can't make it, sweetheart. Amelia just broke up with her boyfriend. She needs us." My hand froze mid-air. The caterer asked if everything was okay, and I forced a smile. "Just a small change in the guest list," I said. I replied with my usual, "That's okay," then threw myself into work. The open house went flawlessly. I signed 2 new clients, received compliments from industry veterans, even had a journalist request an interview. But that night in my hotel room, alone, I scrolled through Instagram and saw it, a photo posted by my cousin. "Birthday dinner for our special girl. Family love. Amolia Day." There they were, my parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, surrounding Amelia at her favorite restaurant, champagne glasses raised. The same day they couldn't come to my event. The caption read, "Last-minute family gathering for Amelia's 28th. Nothing keeps the Marstons from celebrating their baby girl." I stared at their smiling faces until my vision blurred. It wasn't that they couldn't come, they wouldn't come. I closed Instagram, deleted the family photos from my phone, and walked out to my balcony. The ocean stretched dark and endless before me. Something shifted inside me that night. A quiet click, like a door locking. I decided I was done trying to be enough for people who would never see me, no matter how high I climbed. If my own family couldn't recognize my worth, I'd build something so undeniable that everyone else would. No more reaching out, no more invitations, no more disappointment. I just never imagined how perfectly the universe would help me deliver that message. 6 months later, an email arrived that I almost deleted as spam. HGTV interest in your work. Potential series feature. Curious, I opened it. The producer explained they'd seen my Malibu renovation in a design magazine and wanted to discuss featuring me in a new series about visionary women transforming luxury properties. I agreed to coffee, expecting nothing. Christina, the executive producer, arrived with a full team and a vision bigger than I'd imagined. "We don't want just any property," she explained, showing me concept boards. "We're looking for something dramatic, ocean views, architectural challenges, a true transformation story." Her eyes lit up as she spoke. "And the designer needs to be someone special too, someone with both technical expertise and emotional connection to the work." 2 weeks later, Christina called. We found it. Celine, a forgotten villa on Monterey Bay. Built in 1972, abandoned for 8 years. The location is breathtaking, but the structure needs everything. She sent photos of a neglected modern house perched on a cliff. Cracked windows, faded wood, water damage. But the bones were there, soaring ceilings, walls of glass, a connection to the ocean that took my breath away. "The owners are asking $2.3 million, Christina said. "We'd film the entire renovation for a special episode. What do you think?" I thought about my empty apartment, about the family that never showed up, about building something just for me. "What if I buy it?" I asked. "Not to flip, to live in." Christina paused. "That would be even better television. The personal investment, the stakes." She hesitated. "But the renovation budget would be enormous. At least $3 million more." I thought about my savings, about the commissions from 3 pending sales. "I can do it." The next day, I made an offer. The day after, it was accepted. 3 weeks later, I signed a confidentiality agreement with HGTV. The filming would be secret, no social media, no telling anyone the true scale of the project, no telling my family. If you've ever had that moment where you decided to stop chasing approval and start building your own happiness, hit subscribe. Because what happened next proves that sometimes the quietest revenge is simply creating something beautiful while no one's watching, and then inviting the whole world to see it, except the people who made you feel invisible. The renovation consumed me completely. What began as a 6-month project stretched to 9, as I rejected anything less than perfection. The HGTV crew documented my obsession, sometimes exchanging worried glances when I'd demand the same tile be reset for the 3rd time. "It's 3 millimeters off," I explained to an exhausted contractor at 2 a.m. "The light hits it wrong." He sighed but didn't argue. They'd all learned that my standards weren't negotiable. I personally selected every element: Italian limestone floors, hand-carved cedar beams, glass walls engineered to withstand coastal storms while disappearing into the view. Each choice reflected something I'd been denied: space, visibility, permanence. The kitchen became my personal masterpiece. Unlike my childhood home where I'd cook in a cramped corner while everyone gathered around Amelia at the center island, this kitchen had sightlines from every angle. "No blind spots," I told the designer. "I want to see everything and be seen from anywhere." The dining room featured a round table I commissioned from a fallen redwood, large enough for 15 people, with no head seat. Equal status for everyone who would sit there. "Who's coming to dinner?" the carpenter asked as he sanded the edges. "Only people who show up when it matters," I replied. My bedroom faced the ocean directly, positioned to catch both sunrise and sunset. The bed itself, king-sized, with a floating platform, centered perfectly in the room. No more cramped corners or converted storage spaces. I would wake each morning claiming the center of my own life. The most challenging feature was the infinity pool, designed to visually merge with the ocean horizon. Engineers argued it couldn't be done given the cliff's angle. Find a way, I said, doubling their fee. 3 design revisions, and 2 months later they did. Throughout it all, cameras followed. They captured my late nights reviewing blueprints, my arguments with contractors, my rare moments of uncertainty. Christina, the producer, often reminded me these vulnerable moments made for compelling television. But this wasn't about television for me. It was about building something that reflected my worth, something so beautiful and undeniable that even my family would have to see me. What I didn't know was how soon that theory would be tested. With just 2 weeks until completion, Christina approached me about the final filming, the reveal segment. "We need reactions," she explained. "Family, friends, people who matter to you seeing the finished villa for the first time." I froze. Family. The word hung in the air like a threat. For 9 months, I'd barely spoken to my parents. Our communication had dwindled to obligatory holiday texts and occasional updates about, surprise, Amelia's latest crisis. "I don't know if they'd come," I said carefully. Christina squeezed my arm. "Just ask. Worst they can say is no." That evening, I sat on my temporary balcony overlooking the construction site. The sun set over half-installed glass panels, painting everything gold. My villa was almost ready, my new beginning. Did I want my family to be part of it? Part of me, the little girl who'd spent decades trying to be seen, whispered yes. Maybe this would finally be enough. Maybe they'd finally understand. I pulled out my phone and typed, "Hey Mom, HGTV is filming a special at my new place next weekend. It's kind of a big deal. Would love for you and Dad to come." I hit send before I could change my mind, then waited, heart racing. 3 hours passed. 4, 5. At 11:38 p.m., my phone lit up. "We'll skip your housewarming. Your sister just moved too. You know how busy things are with her right now." No questions about the HGTV mention. No curiosity about my new place. Just another dismissal wrapped in Amelia's needs. I stared at those words, something breaking and reforming inside me. Not pain this time. Clarity. "That's okay," I replied. 2 simple words that held my liberation, because for the first time it truly was okay. I no longer needed their approval or attention. Their absence wasn't a punishment anymore. It was freedom. I turned off my phone completely and slept better than I had in years. The next morning, I called Christina. "About those reactions for the reveal segment, I have some changes to the guest list." She heard something different in my voice. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking it's time to celebrate with people who actually want to be there." The final week before filming, I made my calls, not to family by blood, but to the people who'd actually been there for me. Professor Harlow answered on the first ring. "I wouldn't miss it for the world," she said without hesitation. I called Jorge and Maria, the couple whose first home I'd helped them find, when other agents dismissed their budget, the contractors who'd worked overtime on the villa, my assistant who stayed late reviewing documents without complaint, the cafe owner who kept me caffeinated through the Stanford years. None hesitated. None had excuses. When filming day arrived, the villa gleamed in morning light. Every surface polished, every detail perfect. The infinity pool reflected sky and ocean in an endless blue mirror. Glass walls stood invisible until you touched them, making the boundary between inside and outside vanish completely. The HGTV host arrived first, walking through with wide eyes. "Celine, this is extraordinary," she whispered, running her hand along the cedar dining table. "This isn't just a renovation. This is art." Cameras positioned throughout the house captured every reaction as my guests arrived. Professor Harlow cried when she saw the library with the reading chair I'd positioned exactly where morning light would hit it. "You remembered?" she said, touching the leather armrest. Jorge and Maria gasped at the guest room I'd designed with families in mind. My contractors beamed with pride seeing their work showcased on national television. What the cameras caught wasn't just reactions to a beautiful house. They captured genuine joy, connection, people who celebrated my success without making it smaller. For dinner, we gathered around my table, 15 chairs, equal distance, equal light, no hierarchy, no invisible spots. I'd placed handwritten cards at each setting that simply read, "You belong here." As sunset turned the ocean to gold, I raised my glass. The cameras zoomed in, capturing the moment the producer had coached me on. I'd rehearsed something elegant, but looking at these faces, these people who showed up without conditions, I spoke from my heart instead. "To everyone who showed up when it mattered," I said, my voice steady despite the emotion behind it. "Thank you for seeing me." What the cameras didn't capture was my quiet realization. I finally understood what family actually meant. 3 months passed after filming wrapped. Life settled into a peaceful rhythm in my oceanfront sanctuary. I'd moved on from waiting for my family's approval, focused instead on my next projects, on building my firm, on morning coffee watching waves from my terrace. The HGTV special was scheduled to air on a Thursday evening in July. I decided to watch alone, champagne in hand, celebrating my own achievement in the home I'd created. What I didn't anticipate was what would happen next. The broadcast began at 8 p.m. By 8:17, my phone buzzed with the first text, a college friend. "OMG, is that your house on HGTV right now?" By 8:30, social media notifications poured in, people tagging me, sharing screenshots of my villa, expressing disbelief at the transformation. At 8:43, the first family text arrived. My cousin Emma. "Celine, your house is gorgeous. Why didn't you tell anyone? We're all watching." Then came the aunts, the uncles, distant relatives who'd never bothered to stay in touch, suddenly discovering I wasn't just successful, I was television-worthy successful. And then, at 9:12, as the credits rolled, my phone displayed the call I'd been waiting for without realizing it. "Mom." I let it ring through to voicemail. Within minutes. "Celine, it's Mom. Call us back immediately." "Honey, why didn't you tell us about the TV show? Is that really your house? The ocean one?" My father texted separately. $6 million? My God, Celine. Amelia. "Everyone's calling me about your house. Why didn't you say anything?" By midnight, I had 37 missed calls, 2 voice messages from my mother alternating between hurt accusations. "How could you not tell us?" And sudden pride. Our daughter, the real estate star. I sat on my terrace, phone in hand, watching the notification count climb. The ocean crashed against the cliffs below, steady, rhythmic, unchanged by human drama. Just like the truth I now understood so clearly, I hadn't bought this house to impress them. I'd bought it to free myself from needing to. I placed my phone face down on the table, screen still flashing with their attempts to reach me. For the first time in my life, I was the center of their attention, and I no longer needed it. The power had shifted, quiet but complete. They weren't ignoring me anymore. I was choosing not to respond. For 3 days, I let my phone collect voicemails. I needed time to process what was happening, how quickly my family scrambled to claim connection to my success after years of dismissing it. Social media became a storm of sudden family pride. My Aunt Carol, who hadn't spoken to me in 4 years, posted screenshots from the HGTV special with the caption, "So proud of my niece Celine, our family's star designer. Proud, auntie, family talent." My uncle tagged me in a Facebook post. "That's my brother's daughter on HGTV. The Marston success gene runs strong." Cousins who'd ignored my graduation shared the episode link. My cousin's insane $6 million villa. I always knew she'd make it big. The irony wasn't lost on me. The same relatives who sat silently through years of my parents prioritizing Amelia suddenly discovered I existed, now that cameras had validated me. My mother's posts were the most jarring. She shared a childhood photo of me holding a toy house, writing, "Always knew my daughter had an eye for design. Mother's intuition. Proud mom." She conveniently omitted how she'd discouraged my architecture interests, calling them impractical dreams, compared to Amelia's ever-changing passions. The text messages grew increasingly desperate. "Celine, please call us back. Your father and I are trying to understand why you didn't tell us. We've always been so proud of you. Everyone's asking about you." That last one revealed everything. Their sudden interest wasn't about me. It was about how my success reflected on them. From Amelia came a different kind of message. "This is so weird. Mom's putting up old pictures of you everywhere. Dad keeps telling his friends about his successful daughter in California." Then, "Are you mad at them? At me?" I didn't reply, but her question lingered. Was I mad? No. I felt something beyond anger, a calm clarity. For 32 years, I'd been a footnote in my family's story. Now they wanted starring roles in mine. After a week of silence, my father's message finally approached honesty. "We messed up, didn't we? Please call your mother." "She's not handling this well." Translation: "Your silence is inconvenient for us." I watched waves crash against my cliffs and realized they still didn't understand what they'd done. They weren't sorry for years of neglect. They were sorry they'd missed their chance to claim credit for my success. When my phone rang on day 10, displaying Amelia's number, something told me to answer. Maybe because, unlike our parents, she was a victim of their pattern too, just from the opposite side. "Hello?" I kept my voice neutral. "Celine?" Amelia sounded hesitant. "You actually picked up." I did. An awkward pause stretched between us. 8 months without speaking, and suddenly she had nothing to say. "Mom's been crying," she finally continued. "They keep asking why you didn't tell them about the house or the TV show." I remained silent, waiting. This was Amelia's pattern, making me feel responsible for our parents' feelings. "They feel really bad," she pressed. "Dad says they would have come to your housewarming if they knew it was so important." There it was, the familiar dismissal wrapped in an excuse. Not that they'd been wrong to skip it, just that they would have calculated differently if they'd known cameras were involved. "It wasn't about importance, Amelia. It was about showing up." Another silence, then her voice softened. "I get that. Listen, they want to see the house. Mom suggested maybe you could host a family dinner. Just us, no cameras this time." I almost laughed at her phrasing. No cameras this time, as if cameras had been the problem. "I'll think about it," I said. "Please, they're driving me crazy. Mom keeps saying she feels like a bad mother." There it was again. My responsibility to fix her feelings, to reassure her, to make things comfortable. "Fine," I agreed, surprising myself. "Next Saturday, 7 p.m. "Really? That's great. I'll tell them. They'll be so relieved." After we hung up, I walked through my villa, seeing it through their eyes. The spaces I'd created, the views I'd framed, the life I'd built without their support. This dinner wouldn't be about reconciliation. It would be about closure, about finally being seen on my terms, in my space, without shrinking myself to make anyone comfortable. I began planning the evening with the same precision I'd used to design the infinity pool. Every detail would tell the story I'd been silent about for decades. I prepared for their arrival with methodical precision. The table set with my finest dishes, each chair exactly the same distance from the next. Wine breathing, candles lit, a menu designed to impress without trying too hard. At 7:02 p.m., the doorbell rang. I took one deep breath and opened the door to faces I hadn't seen in over a year. "Celine," my mother gasped, eyes immediately darting past me to the soaring ceilings and ocean view. "It's even more beautiful in person." My father stood awkwardly, hands in pockets. "Quite a place you've got here." Amelia hung back, eyes wide. "Wow," was all she managed. I welcomed them inside without embracing anyone. "Let me show you around." Their reactions as we moved through the villa told me everything. My mother touched surfaces like she was appraising them: marble counters, custom fixtures, designer furniture. My father kept mentioning costs. "What did this run you? Must have been a fortune." Not once did they ask how I'd designed it, or why certain elements mattered to me. When we reached the infinity pool, my mother finally found her voice. "Honey, why didn't you tell us about all this? We would have helped with the housewarming." I simply smiled. "You were busy. Amelia had just moved." The tension that followed us to dinner was thick enough to cut. We sat at my perfectly equal table, no one at the head, everyone facing each other. "So," my father began after an uncomfortable silence, "business must be booming." "It is," I replied. "You could have told us about the TV show," my mother said, her voice somewhere between hurt and accusatory. "Everyone's asking us about it." "I did tell you. You said you couldn't come." Another silence. Then my mother brightened artificially. "Well, we're here now, and this house, it's just remarkable. So much space for just one person." I saw it coming but let her continue. "You know," she said, refilling her wine, "Amelia's lease is so expensive, and with her job situation still uncertain." She glanced at my sister, who suddenly looked intently at her plate. "We were thinking, with all these empty rooms, maybe she could stay with you for a while. You wouldn't even notice her." The familiar pattern, playing out exactly as expected. I placed my fork down gently. "Mom, this isn't a guest house. It's my home. I built it to have peace, not to relive old patterns." Her smile froze. "What does that mean?" "It means no. Amelia won't be moving in." I looked directly at my sister. "And it's not because I don't have the space. It's because I finally have boundaries." A week passed after the dinner. No calls, no texts, just silence. I'd expected anger, not quiet retreat. Then a cream envelope arrived in my mailbox, my mother's distinctive handwriting on the front. Inside was a letter and a faded photograph I'd never seen. Me at about 7, building a structure with blocks while everyone else gathered around a birthday cake for Amelia. The letter read, "We didn't understand what we were doing to you. We thought Amelia needed us more. But watching that show, seeing what you've built, I realized we lost something too. We lost the chance to know you. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know I see it now. How we always put her first. How we took your strength for granted. How we missed everything important. The house is beautiful, Celine. Just like you." I read it 3 times, searching for the manipulation, the guilt, the redirect to Amelia's needs. But for once, it wasn't there. Too little, Too late, perhaps, but it was something I'd never received before. Acknowledgement. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I called Professor Harlow. I want to start a foundation, I told her. For students like I was, the overlooked ones with potential but no support system. 2 weeks later, we filed paperwork for the Invisible Ones Foundation. Its mission, to provide full scholarships to high-achieving students whose accomplishments were overshadowed by family dynamics beyond their control. I funded it with $2 million to start, enough for 10 full rides to top universities, including housing stipends, so they wouldn't have to work 3 jobs like I did. The selection criteria weren't just academic. We looked for resilience, for students who excelled despite being overlooked, for quiet determination in the face of constant dismissal. When the press release went out announcing the foundation, I included a simple quote: "Success isn't just about being seen, it's about creating something meaningful from the moments when you weren't." I sent a copy to my mother with a handwritten note. Some inheritances aren't passed down. They're built from what we were denied. It wasn't forgiveness exactly, but it was transformation, turning decades of invisibility into opportunity for others like me. And somehow, that felt more healing than any family reconciliation could offer. 1 year later, the HGTV crew returned to film a follow-up segment titled, "After the Reveal, Where Are They Now?" My villa looked even more beautiful, gardens blooming along the cliffside, art collected from local artists adorning walls, and most importantly, a sense of lived-in peace that no designer could create. The producer, Christina, hugged me tight. "You look different," she said, "happier." She wasn't wrong. The woman who had obsessively measured tile placements had evolved into someone who could enjoy her morning coffee without checking emails first. The Invisible Ones Foundation has changed everything, I explained as cameras rolled. We've funded 15 scholarships already. That evening, I hosted a sunset gathering on my terrace. Professor Harlow chatted with scholarship recipients by the infinity pool. Contractors who'd worked on the villa brought their families. My chosen family filled every corner with genuine laughter. My parents weren't there. We'd established a careful relationship, holiday calls, occasional emails. Amelia had found her own path finally, working for a nonprofit in Portland. We were learning to be siblings without our parents' dynamic between us. During the interview portion, Christina asked the question I'd been expecting. If you could say one thing to the people who didn't believe in you back then, what would it be? The cameras zoomed in. Everyone expected something cutting, dramatic, the revenge moment viewers craved. I looked directly into the camera and said, "Thank you. You gave me silence, and in that silence, I built everything I needed." The clip went viral within hours of airing. Not because it was scandalous, but because it resonated. Thousands sharing it with captions about their own journeys from invisibility to peace. After the crew packed up, I walked barefoot along my terrace. The evening air carried salt and jasmine. Waves crashed rhythmically below. My phone lay inside, notifications silenced. The most powerful revenge isn't making others regret what they did to you. It's reaching a place where their approval no longer matters, where their absence becomes irrelevant to your happiness. I didn't need them to see me anymore. I had finally, completely, seen myself. If you've ever been made invisible by the people who should have seen your worth, hit subscribe. Because the most beautiful kind of revenge isn't burning bridges. It's building something so magnificent on your side of the river that they're left wondering how they missed seeing the architect in you all along. Your story of rising deserves to be heard.